Do you need to store a lot of water in a small space? We may have a solution for you.
Hi, I'm Sam.
And I'm Jonathan, and we are the Provident Preppers. Today we're building the Hydrant 3-barrel rack system from Titan Ready USA. We just happen to have the perfect spot in our basement, and since water is so critical, having the ability to stack 3 barrels in this tight space for 165 gallons of water storage is a perfect choice.
In this video, we'll show you how easy it is to build, especially with some basic tools, how to rotate the water effectively, and what we think of the product. Enjoy.
We contacted Kris at Titan Ready USA to see if we could try out the Titan Ready Hydrant water storage system.
But before we get into that, it's important that we discuss how critical of a resource water is. And if you don't have water stored in your home, that means that you're going to be out looking for water someplace. And the water that you have stored in your home is always going to be safer than the water that you're going to be able to find. So we really encourage you to make water storage a priority. It doesn't have to cost a lot of money. Kris's system is fantastic, and we are incredibly excited to be able to have it in our home. However, I have a friend who fills her cleaned out 2-liter bottles with water and puts them under a bed. It's free. It doesn't cost her anything. It's more work, yes, but it allows her to have water storage in her home. One of the things that we do to make sure that we have a little bit of extra water storage is that we keep our canning jars always full of water. As soon as we empty a jar and clean it, it's filled with water and put back on the shelf full so that we're not wasting any of that space. We were able to pick up these barrels free because they had held soft drink syrups. Now, yes, our water still has a little Dr. Pepper or lemon lime taste, which gets a little bit less every time we rotate that water. And we will probably just be using this water for hygiene purposes. However, free is really helpful when you have so many other demands on your finances. Another problem with these barrels is they let the light in, so we always have to keep them covered with a tarp to keep the light out. The point that I am trying to make is we are going to show you a really, really cool way to store your water that makes water rotation incredibly simple. If you're not able to afford something like this at this point, it's just important that you have some water stored and perhaps a way to filter it. Click on the card in the corner and it will take you to a post that we have written called How to Store Water for Emergency Preparedness. And in that post, we go over all the different ways that you can store water, the containers, and how you should treat that water.
Now let's get into the Titan Ready water barrels. In our storage room, we had just a little small space here you can see. Normally, we would have only been able to put 1 barrel in this spot, but with this rack system, we're able to fit 3. In this storage room, we created a water supply by tapping into one of the household water lines. This allows us to have water access to fill barrels in this room.
And this is what I love about this system. Filling the barrels is incredibly easy. All I do is take a potable hose, and we always use a potable hose because we want to make sure that the water that we put in the barrel is really clean. But I take that potable hose and I hook it up to the water source and I hook it up to the bottom barrel, and then I turn on the bottom spigot, and I have to open the top spigot too. But then I just turn on the water and it fills the barrels for me. It's really fun for me to watch as the bottom barrel fills up and the water goes into the next barrel. You can see all these little water bubbles, and it's just kind of fun to know that all this work is happening without me having to do anything but watch.
When the top barrel gets filled, that water will start running out there. You'll want to have a bucket handy to catch that, and then you turn off your valves.
Now, this is the thing that really appealed to me about this system. In order to access the clean drinking water, all you have to do is put a container underneath and turn on that spigot. When the water is stored in the other barrels, we have to put a siphon in and pump it out, and there is a good chance of the water getting contaminated just through the process of taking the water out. Here, that water remains clean inside those barrels. And this type of access to the water means that my children can access it, or elderly or disabled people might have better access to clean drinking water that's been stored.
And the system has reasonably good water pressure.
When it comes time to rotate your water, it is really just as simple as connecting your potable hose. I guess if you're draining the water, it doesn't have to be a potable hose. That's true. But you're going to connect your hose, and then we just hold the hose over a drain in our basement and allow that water to flow out. Yes, it is a waste, but for us, this system allows us to have fresh drinking water in our basement that is easy to rotate. If you happen to have this in your garage or some other place, it would be really easy to connect a hose to it and allow that hose to drain the water into your yard and water your plants.
Here's what the system looks like when it gets to your home. And here are all the parts and pieces.
We probably should note here that you can buy this system with just 2 barrels or 3 barrels or 4 barrels. It's designed like an erector set so that you can add to it. In the space that we had in the basement, we only had height space for 3 barrels.
We'll now show you a little bit of how the system goes together. We start by creating a stable base using these feet. We've then added the frames that hold the barrels, and we're putting on the X-frames that provide the support. With the base and the bottom rack put together, it's just a matter of continuing that process for however many barrels you have. As you build the rack, you're going to leave the nuts and bolts loose. Once the rack is built, then you'll want to get everything nice and tight. Once the rack is built, we put it in place, allowing enough room behind for the barrel to hang over its appropriate depth. And because we live in earthquake country, we used plumber's tape on each section of the rack to tie it to the wall. Here is a completed rack ready for the barrels to be installed. With the barrels still on the ground, we want to put the bungs in and the plumbing fittings. To make sure that these barrels do not leak, you'll want to make sure that the bungs are very tight and that you use Teflon tape on the plumbing fittings. Here you can see the connection fitting being fitted into the bung. Again, note the Teflon tape. This is the hose attachment being put onto the bottom spigot. Once all the fittings are in place, it's time to put the barrels into the rack. Connecting the tubing was probably the most difficult step for me. We found that if we heated up the end of this braided hose, it went on just a little bit better. To make sure this system is tight, the hoses are a little bit snug and they take a little bit of energy and effort to get them on. With the hoses on, we are now tightening the hose clamps.
I get to give you my overall impression first. This is a really cool system. I really like the way that it fits into this little spot that we had that was kind of just a wasted area. But the Titan Ready hydrant system has given us 165 gallons of water right here in this little space, right next to the water heaters, which also are a form of emergency water storage. I'm a huge fan of how easy it is to fill the barrels and rotate the water.
My overall impression is also positive. I like this system. It's easy to fill, easy to drain. As an engineer, I'm always looking for the things that could go wrong. There are a lot of connections here, but as long as you make sure those are snugged up tight and that you use the Teflon tape, you shouldn't have any issues at all.
Visit the Provident Prepper Titan Ready Hydrant Water Storage System product review, and you will see all the details about the product review that we have done and how to install this. On our YouTube channel, we have created some incredible videos for you. One that I would highly recommend is Best Long-Term Treatment Methods for 55-gallon water barrels. This hydrant ready system is fantastic, but if you are only able to just purchase a barrel or get a used barrel free, in this video, we'll show you how to clean it and how to treat the water for long-term storage.
Another great video is emergency water filters. This will provide an overview of the different kinds of filters and which one might be best for your uses. Check them out.
Well, there you have it. We've put together the Hydrant 3-barrel rack system made by Titan Ready USA.
That's right. It just is a great way for us to store a lot of water in a fairly small footprint, and it's very easy to rotate that water out.
And now for the question of the day. What's your favorite way to store water for long-term storage? Comment down below. And thanks for being part of the solution.